Good morning, everybody, or good afternoon there. So I'm going to start my slideshow. So anyway, I wanted to share this little picture. So as you can see, this is a very beautiful picture of one of my students when I was in Ukraine. So we were learning English for academic purposes, and we were doing some literature circles. And anyway, in one of the tasks of the circles, we were reading literature, we were reading a book, The House on Mango Street. And one of the tasks was to make a little picture or drawing about what was happening in that particular chapter. So anyway, she did this beautiful picture on that specific chapter. So she gave it to me, and I am very grateful. So I thought it would be nice to share. So this symbolizes the house of Mango Street with all what is happening to Esperanza, moving from house to house, friendship, being naive, family, feelings, hypocrisy, thoughts, and this idea of going to France. So anyway, thank you to Maria on my group 246A. Okay, so with that, I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Luis Perea. Okay, so here we have, I'm very honored to be in this virtual conference, International Scientific and Practical Online Conference, Philological and Pedagogical Studies in the 21st Century, National and International Science, and this is sponsored by the Taras Shevchenko National University of Kiev. So today I'm going to share something that you may be using in your classrooms, maybe not, but I think it will be very useful, especially for high school students, even college students, as I use this during my times teaching university in Ukraine. So these are literature circles in the ESL, English Second Language, English as a Foreign Language classroom. Okay, so again, my name is Luis Perea. So let's start. Okay, so first of all, what are literature circles? So here we have the quick definition of the creator of this method. So they are small peer-led discussion groups whose members have chosen to read the same story. It could be a poem, it could be an article, or it could be a book, okay? So basically the idea is that if you have a big group of students, you can have them be working together in a group, as a whole group, or you can make different little groups, small groups, 3 or 4 students, and they can have their own literature circle discussions. So as you can see, yes, the group meets for a discussion and each member makes notes to help them contribute to the upcoming discussion, and everyone comes back together as a group to share their ideas. So the group has to follow a reading and meeting schedule, and they have these ongoing discussions as a better way to discuss the book or article. So the idea is that each member will share the highlights of the readings with, the wider community, and even train members with other finishing groups, choose additional readings, etc. Okay, now how do we prepare for a literature circle? So you may configure your groups by interest level. So for instance, maybe you have a group who's learning British literature or American literature, specific topic, a reading level. Maybe you have a big group that has 3 different reading levels, so you may want to do that, or both. Also, you may want to allow students to select their own groups. Each group must have at least 5 roles, so to have a good ongoing discussion. You may decide to have students change roles within the group many times or a few times. So the idea is that each member is going to have a specific role. So once when they read a part of the, let's say an article, part of the article or a chapter, they come back, they discuss their specific role, and then the next time they switch roles and they were going to want to be sharing a different part of the role. So the idea is to be sharing different perspectives, right? You may decide to use the role sheets at the beginning of the book study and move away from them as your students master the art of book discussions, okay? So the books that you can use, you can gather in advance the books you will use for the literature circles. It's a good idea to have your book or article in advance so you can get a glimpse of that. You may have each group read a different book, or you may have more than one group read the same book. So yeah, you can have a big group. Let's say if you have 30 students or 20 students, they all can be reading the same book, and you can break it down, or you can break down your big group of 20, 30 students into smaller groups, and each group be assigned a different group. So obviously, it would be more interesting if students read a variety of books, but the final decision, it's upon you. Based on available resources, you may be able to use books to which you already have access. Also, when making your selections, consider the texts, either fictional books, non-fictional books, and make sure that they could be of high interest, but at the same time, sufficiently challenging. So books whose characters are well developed and books that provide ample opportunities for students to make connections to themselves and their world. So very important. Also, so a schedule with due dates for reading discussions is important. So make sure you prepare a schedule and set deadlines and say, okay, this week we're going to read 3-4 chapters. Next week we're going to cover, I don't know, another 4 chapters, for instance. So you may have students read silently in class, do sections as homework assignments, read aloud to one another in small or large groups, read aloud in a teacher-directed reading setting, and listen to oral readings. So you can do all these kinds of combinations. Typically, what you can have is start, an introductory session, have students go home and read a specific chapter. You give a specific role, a role sheet, and then they come back and you use that time for sharing and clarifying things about the book, and you repeat the process. The high interest level of the books combined with a variety of reading strategies and activities should keep students very engaged. Also plan in advance for due dates to fall at logical breaks in the books. So simply dividing by the number of pages may not be an effective way if it interrupts an action in the story. So, be aware of the flow of the book or the article. When to integrate discussions and activities. So you will not only need to think through how to conduct the reading for each chunk of the book, but you will also need to decide how to handle discussion of each reading assignment. Role descriptions are provided so students can lead themselves in group discussions. So when they get a specific role, everything is laid out there, and the roles have a specific descriptions that the students can just follow, resolve or take notes, provide their main highlights, and come back and discuss. Students may take turns performing the various roles, and you may decide to assign students more than one role so that you can have smaller groups, okay? Following now, so let's go now into the literature circle roles. So here we go. So the first, I'm just gonna talk about the very basic roles that you can use. So the first one is discussion leader, or is also called questioner, okay? So Another name for that is discussion director. But this is the task. So your job is to develop a list of questions you think your group should discuss about the science section of the book. So basically, this person has to design questions about the specific chapter or article or section, right? So then can use the knowledge of levels of questions to create thought-provoking, literal, interpretative, and universal questions. So the more in-depth the questions, the juicier the questions, the questions which have more critical thinking and connections to outside would be the best, right? So try to create questions that encourage your group to consider many ideas. Help your group explore these important ideas and share their reactions. You will be in charge of leading the day's discussion. So that's the first role. The next one is the diction detective. So here, the student's job is to carefully examine the diction, in this case, the word choice. So they have to search for words, phrases, and passages that are especially descriptive, powerful, funny, thought-provoking, surprising, or even confusing. So again, here the role is to read, let's say, a chapter and pick specific phrases, words, even sections that lead to this discussion. What do they mean? Or they have an abstract meaning. They have a cognitive meaning. What is this about? You can even be discussing cultural things or idiomatic things, right? So list the words or phrases and explain why you selected them. Then write your thoughts about why the author may have selected these words or phrases. So it's also sort of like an analysis between why did the actor choose this vocabulary versus what does this vocabulary mean, right? What is the actor trying to say? How does the diction help the author achieve his or her purpose? What tone do the words indicate? Okay. Then the next role is called the bridge builder. So your job is to build bridges between the events of the book and other people, places, or events in the school, the community, or your own life. So look for connections between the texts. So connections between you and the text, also connections between the text and yourself, connections between these texts and other texts, other books that you have read, and connections between the text you are reading and the world. Did you hear this, something similar somewhere else? Did you hear somebody talking about this? Do you watch it on TV, on a movie, etc.? Also make connections between what has happened before and what may happen as the narrative continues. Look for the characters' internal and external conflicts and the ways that these conflicts influence their actions, okay? Another role is the reporter. So your job is to identify and report on the key points of the reading assignments. Make a list or write a summary that describes how the writer develops the setting. So thinking about the setting, the plot, and characters in these sections of the book. Consider how the characters interact, how major events that occur and shifts in the setting or the mood that seem significant. Share your report at the beginning of the group meeting to help your group focus on the key ideas presented in the reading. Like that of a newspaper reporter, your report must be concise yet thorough. So anyway, so this is the idea, right? To extract the main highlights, the main things happening in this particular chapter or article, okay? Let me go to the next one. So this is called the artist or also illustrator or art director. So your job is to create an illustration related to the reading. It can be a sketch, a cartoon, a diagram, a flow chart, or other sort of prediction. You can choose to illustrate a scene, an idea, a symbol, or a character. So the idea here is to show your illustration to the group without any explanation. Ask each group member to respond either by making a comment or asking a question. After everyone has responded, you may explain your illustration and answer any questions that had not been answered, okay? So this will leave, room for additional discussion to make connections and also to allow those visual learners to be able to better understand what is being discussed, okay? The next role, other roles, okay, I just show you the main ones, but other roles could be, again, the summarizer, when a person reads a particular chapter or article and they have to highlight the main points of it to make a summary. Connector, the same, making connections between the article and other texts, things happening in real life or things happening in their own experience. Why is this important? Because when students are able to make connections to the text, to the article or book they are reading, then the ways of thinking, the ways of analyzing the article comes to a better understanding. So they can see the practicality of it. Travel tracer, so this could be something analogous as if you're reading a piece of literature, if they go back in time, they can imagine what would life be like at the time. Maybe they're reading a passage during the 1800s, maybe they're reading a passage about ancient Roman history, etc. So to visualize what life would be like. Also, here we have vocabulary enricher or word wizard, or also called one like crazy word finder. So here the idea is to analyze vocabulary. So students can highlight or underline a specific vocabulary, especially in the language classroom, vocabulary that is new to them, vocabulary that they do not understand, vocabulary that is idiomatic, slang, or academic, specific concepts which are worth discussing, right? Literal luminary, so this is analogous to reading the passage and picking up a very specific section of the passage and talking about it. So basically looking at, okay, I chose this passage because it's very important. It brings back memories to this experience, or because it resonates with me because I feel connected with this, or something similar to me happened here. So bringing back specific sections. Researcher is an excellent role, because basically what the students do, they could find a very specific topic or concept from the reading, whether if it is fiction or non-fiction, and they want to know more about it. So maybe they can go online or to the library, etc., and do additional research. So for instance, I want to know more about the author, or I want to know about, let's say, the passages about the US War of Independence. I want to know more about that, what happened. So then students can make additional research, come back to the group discussion and share that, right? Discussion note-taking, graphic organizer. So here, another role could be that another student can take notes about the discussion, about what is happening, and even can create a graphic organizer to kind of sort of summarize how the discussion is going. Super storyteller. So this is, analogous to, picking up a specific section in the passage and retelling what is happening. So kind of like summarizing, but retelling it orally or paraphrasing it. So students can paraphrase their understanding of a specific section. Passage performer. So this could be more like, maybe students can perform a little bit, like act out a little bit about what could be happening in a specific section of the book or the article. So this would be very good for literature, when maybe you can have students act out something specific about that passage. Double entry journal. So here, basically, a student can start journaling. So start writing down their thoughts about what they're understanding on the passage. So think about maybe active reading. When we are reading a book that is new to us, we're taking notes. We are taking notes in order to better understand what is happening. For instance, we could be analyzing what a specific character looked like, what a specific character, what is this character's personality. Okay, so you can start making an analysis. Okay, so you are journaling, you are analyzing it, and maybe you can even exchange these notes with somebody else. So another student can react to your thoughts, agree, or add additional information. And then another role, which is not widely used, is group meeting reflection sheet. So again, sort of like journaling, reflecting on how the discussion is going on. Is the group as a whole being able to understand what is happening in the story? Are their discussions becoming really good, really focus on a good in-depth analysis of the passage or article? So anyway, these are other kinds of roles. Now, this could be a sample configuration. So for instance, you could say, this is just a sample. If I were doing this workshop live, I would have, teachers or students get together and practice a little reading with a book. So this is what it could look like. For instance, our task. So get together in groups of 4 or 5 people. I would pass out maybe, different chapters of a book. So read individually 2-3 chapters given to you from the book. And I'm using The House on Mango Street. It's very well known by Sandra Cisneros. So once you have finished reading those chapters, take notes and fill in the literature circle worksheet given to you. So I would have those worksheets ready. Everyone has different roles. So as they read silently, they take their notes, they fill out their worksheets. Then the time would be to share their notes from your worksheet to the other members of your group. And then the whole idea is, so they can share it between smaller groups and then maybe even share as a whole group. So let's share as an all big group, listen attentively to other roles and people's families. So this could be the configuration. Now, this is a little synopsis of the book that I would have practiced in real time. So maybe we can, let's read, let's just, it's gonna take a couple minutes. So I'm gonna go here and play this.
The House on Mango Street covers a year in the neighborhood of Esperanza Cordero, a young Chicana hovering in the ambiguous, difficult liminal space between childhood and adulthood. In the introduction, Esperanza Cordero's parents buy a small red house on Mango Street, part of an urban Latino neighborhood, after years of moving from apartment to apartment. The shabby little house is nothing like Esperanza's dream home, which is tidy, quiet, and completely her own. In the rising action, Esperanza's first friend, Kathy, a white girl, warns Esperanza they can only be friends for a little while because her family is moving. According to Kathy, the quality of the neighbors is going downhill, meaning white people are, as is tragically and historically the case, fleeing people of color. Soon after, Esperanza befriends sisters Lucy and Rachel. Esperanza, along with her little sister Nenny, Rachel, and Lucy, roam the neighborhood together. And Esperanza introduces the reader to the rest of her neighbors, telling stories about the men and boys in the neighborhood, though her focus is primarily on the lives of women. Esperanza thinks a lot about what it means to be a woman, particularly in the barrio. Most of the women she knows stay in their homes all day, watching the world go by through their windows as they wait for their husbands to come home. But Esperanza isn't immune to the thrill accompanying the stares of men and boys in the neighborhood. When she, Rachel, and Lucy stomp down the street in secondhand high heels, they find the power intoxicating until a bum coaxes Rachel over and asks her to kiss him. Soon after, an older man grabs Esperanza and kisses her without her consent. But women are not the only ones to struggle in the novel. The challenges of otherness and alienation also applies to immigrants. In one heartbreaking case, Mexican immigrant Geraldo is tragically killed in a hit and run, and authorities don't seem to care at all. Esperanza gravitates towards Sally, a girl at school known for her good looks, and rumors whispered about her in the boys' locker room, which have fueled her father's controlling abuse toward her. But Esperanza envies Sally's style and attitude. Esperanza is humiliated early in their friendship when she tries to protect Sally from boys teasing her for a kiss. Sally always chooses the boys' company over Esperanza. And in the climax of the novel, this leads to Esperanza's rape at a local carnival. The experience is almost too horrible for Esperanza to talk about, and she is furious with Sally, not only for leaving her alone to go off with another boy, but also for filling her head with lies about how great sex can be. In the falling action, Sally gets married, even though she's not even in 8th grade. Esperanza meets 3 elderly sisters who read her palm. They can tell she will leave Mango Street someday and remind her she must always return. They help Esperanza understand that Mango Street is a part of who she is. She will never be able to escape it, so she should embrace it instead. In the resolution of the novel, Esperanza vows to come back to Mango Street to help those who aren't able to leave.
Okay, so you saw the synopsis here. So let me continue. Here is slide. Okay. So anyway, so that was the synopsis of that particular book, so that you have an idea. And now I would like to show you very, very quickly some sample student responses using literature circles that I actually used while I was teaching in Ukraine. So this is what the worksheets look like, okay? So here you have, so students don't have to do anything, but they need to write their name, the group, meeting date, what's the reading assignments, the name of the book. And here we have the directions. So they have, for instance, for the questionnaire, this student have to create some discussion questions. So for instance, how does Esperanza perceive such serious matters as death or motherland? Compare her vision with your own in your own childhood. Or what is Mango Street for Esperanza? What does your place of living mean to you? So anyway, she developed some questions here for discussion, and even the worksheet in this case has tips to consider. Here I have another one, another assignment. What does being a smart cookie mean? To whom it refers and why it had happened so this particular student would have asked the group these questions. So the idea is to create discussion. Let me show you another two. So this is the illustrator or the artful artist. So they were supposed to come up with an illustration that kind of summarizes or highlights a main point for that particular student. So here we have a caption. The morning when she put on the blue dress that made her look older because Aunt Lala said that she should lie about her age, and went to the place of her first job. So she's, I believe, Esperanza getting a new job, and she's wearing a new dress, okay? So here we have another illustration, and even here the students are writing down what is happening at the beginning, middle, and end. Okay, so here, for instance, we met with Earl. Earl is another of Esperanza's neighbors. He lives in Edna's basement and works at night. He's as a junk box repairman. He first had these, he thought these were flowers or something like that. So anyway, so this is another way to talk about what is happening throughout the story. Another example here is a literally luminary. So here we can see the student is noticing or is jotting down the specific pages, the reason for picking that particular section, and the plan for discussion. What were her thoughts for discussion? So here, for instance, she says, I chose this quote to show just as easily as they are formed, friendships with her childhood friends can easily be broken. Okay, so anyway, so this is an example of how this can be done. Here I have literally luminary. Again, so here notice that this particular student pick a particular quote from the book. So here she's saying, he said it was his birthday and would I please give him a birthday kiss? I thought I would because he was so old, and just as I was about to put my lips on his cheek, he grabs my face with both hands and kisses me hard on the mouth and doesn't let go. Reason for picking. So Esperanza's initiation into kissing is by force. Plan for discussion. Why does puberty cause a sense of shame for Esperanza? How would you act in her place? So again, very good job. She picked particular sections, the reason for picking, and the plan for discussion. Okay, so here I have other role that is, for instance, setting, characters, main problem, solution to the main problem. And here we have the student actually having picking a particular vocabulary piece and coming up with a description of it. And here we have, for instance, let me see, vocabulary. So here the students have picked up a specific vocabulary, a specific phrases with the page number, the definition, so you can have students define it, and reason for plan or discussion. So for instance, Rafaela, her hair is like Rapunzel's. So Rafaela, who drinks coconut papaya juice on Tuesdays, from that chapter. Definition. So Rafaela's husband locks his wife indoors when he goes out. Why did she choose this? He's afraid she will run away because she's so beautiful, for instance. Then I have here a little bit of a researcher. So here this particular student went on, did some additional researcher on the author, things you didn't know about the author, in this case, Sandra Cisneros. And here we have some autobiographical elements of the book, okay? Same thing for researcher. So here, this particular student finds some information about Cleopatra. I believe there was something in the book that was mentioned about Egypt and Cleopatra. So this particular student went on to finding more information about Egypt and Cleopatra. Okay, so this is a good connection because those students who may not know a particular historical part of it can benefit from this connection. And then I have another question. So you are thinking this can only be used for literature. So can I use this format for academic research-based articles at the university level? So I would say the answer is yes, of course. So let me show you some of the sample activities that I did with my university students at the graduate and PhD level. So we used to read academic oriented research-based articles. So I was thinking, how can I adapt this from literature to the university level, to nonfiction, to research-based? So I'm just gonna go very quickly. So I would have my students read the chapter, make a summary, and come up with 7 questions for discussions. Another one was, and again, do a summary and come up with 3 to 5 different questions you have about the article, something they did not understand, or something that they would like to know more about the content of the article. So this was an opportunity to clarify any doubts they have about the article. Another one is, again, they will have to do a summary and conduct additional research on the content of the chapter or article they read, okay? So they will go online and find more information on that topic, something, and talk about something that will be worth sharing in class. Another one is to create a diagram or a graphic organizer where they summarize the main aspects of the chapter they read. So they needed to look at the main idea, the message the author wants to communicate, emphasize the main points, and they can highlight it with this graphic organizer. Another one, the typical 3 connections. Okay, so this can be experiences because I was teaching teachers, could be possible teaching, their linguistic experiences as a second language, thinking about how would they use the information they learn from this chapter, how they will be able to apply it to their own needs, teaching or learning another language. They can also make connections to other people's experiences, other teachers, classes they have seen, methodologies, etc. Terminology and vocabulary. What new concepts did they learn? And it's not only about the terminology or the vocabulary, but the concepts. I don't know, what comes to mind is the concept of photosynthesis. What does it mean? Okay, so they will have to explain that. Why is the author using this specific academic terminology or concepts, okay? Do some additional research and bring the explanations to class to be discussed. Another one would be finding specific sections and concepts from the article or chapter that they were very interesting for them. So they would do some additional research and come to class prepared to share and highlight these concepts to the class. Explain why they are interesting and important to you and for all of us. And another one was, you are the main leader for the discussion, this article or chapter. After having read the article, prepare a 3-slide PowerPoint presentation where you will highlight the most important concepts and aspects of the chapter to the entire class. Be ready to present it in class. If possible, bring only 1 handout copy for the instructor and attach it in there. Also bring an electronic copy in a flash drive to share it with class review. So this would be an opportunity for them to practice their presentation skills, to be able to summarize it only into 3 slides so that the rest of the class would understand this. Let me go back to my slideshow here. And this is what I have. These are my sources, okay? And if you have any questions, feel free to email me. And thank you very much. And I look forward to your emails. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.